channel. Here we go. Okay, so we're in the middle of a very amazing story, and there's some very famous stuff about today's Navi that I want to share with you, some very practical, relevant implications from today's story. So I'm really excited about it, and I want us to really internalize the message that we have. So we're holding actually the end of chapter 6, okay? We're holding the end of all the way at the end of chapter 6, and then we'll move on to chapter 7. And basically, there's a major miracle. There's going to be a tremendous downfall in today's Chumash, but we're coming off a high where the Jewish people surrounded Jericho, and they surround the wall, and the wall miraculously falls, and they need a miracle because the wall is as thick as it is tall, and they need a tremendous miracle in order to enter Jericho. But once the wall's down, it should be easy to get in, and they go around it 7 times, and the wall collapses in the ground, and the people walk right in, and tremendous, they easily conquer the city of Jericho. And at that time, verse 26 is going to lead us to the next to the next kind of topic that we're discussing. But Yishba Yeshua Beisahiyah, that's that moment. Joshua stands up and he makes a swear, a curse. Ba'arur ha'ish, cursed be the man, l'fnei Hashem, before God, asher yakum ubana se'ir hazois, that will stand up and rebuild this city, that will build the city. The city is now completely destroyed. They got rid of everything within it. The walls caved in. Everything is gone. Literally, they took a city that was fortified and completely destroyed the city through the miracle of Hashem by the walls collapsing. So Joshua says, cursed be the person that will rebuild the city. With his firstborn son will he lay its foundation. Will he build the foundation of the city, meaning his child will die if anyone tries to come and rebuild the city of Jericho, that people should live there again after Hashem made us this major miracle that we destroyed the city so miraculously. If anyone tries to come and rebuild the city with his firstborn, the death of like my dead body, over the dead body of his firstborn son, will he rebuild? Will he lay the foundation for the city? With his baby child, with his youngest son, will he set up the door frames, the doors to the city, meaning finish the project. He will begin the project with his oldest son, and he will destroy it with his youngest son. And by the way, for those that are going to stay with me, God willing, in a few books from now, in the book of Malachim, we're going to learn that there was a Jew who rebuilt the city of Jericho, and his children passed away as he was building the city. I just want to explain to you the logic, because I remember learning that piece of Tanakh. Why would people build cities? And it was basically an idea to have your name last forever. You wanted to have your name stay forever. So you'd build a massive city, you name it after yourself or something like that, and it would be in your honor. So basically, he's telling you that not just that you're not going to have the city you're trying to build after your name, but even your children will pass away, meaning you'll have no legacy. You're trying to build a legacy, endless, imaginable for yourself. You'll have this unbelievable legacy. You're not going to have this legacy because your children will pass away. There'll be nothing left of your family, and that's actually what happened. And we'll get to that story in Malachim, where people try to rebuild it, and that's what happens. Verse 27. Vayhi Hashem es Yeshua, and Hashem was with Yeshua. V'yishamai b'chol aretz, and his name is throughout all the land. Everybody hears Yeshua, Joshua. You hear what's going on. The Jewish people. Hashem was with Yeshua. Remember the miracles by Moses. Now look at the miracles with Joshua. The walls cave in. They take over the city, no problem. Unbelievable stories take place. And here is a very powerful lesson that we're going to learn. Here's the first lesson, okay? First lesson we're going to learn in today's class now is that Jewish people are one nation, they're one people, and we all suffer the consequences together. Nobody could say, famous example, a guy's on a boat and he rents room space on his boat, he's on a cruise. And he goes into the floor of his room on his cruise, and he starts digging a hole into the water. And everyone starts screaming, "You're crazy, the boat's going to sink." And he says, no. He says, what do you mean the boat's going to sink? I rented my room. I paid my $1,000 for the cruise. I get my space. I could do whatever I want in my room. And The people are telling me, you're crazy. I know you rented your room, but you're going to kill everybody with what you're trying to do on the boat. The same thing is that we're all connected. I think you're going to see from this next story how all the Jewish people are one. And there's no such a thing as I'm going to take care of myself. You fall and you stand up together with everybody else. We are one united front. We embarrass each other together. We hurt each other together. When we don't follow Hashem, it affects everybody as a national thing. You'll see in the story. Another major lesson that you'll see in the story coming up. Another major part of the story, and I want to share it. I think this is a good way to view the story. It's not that Hashem saves us in life. In other words, it's not that you would have a normal life. Life would be good if Hashem wasn't there. And then at moments, God makes a miracle and he saves. If God would leave you up to the whims of nature, people would get destroyed. People would rip up other people down. You would not succeed. Your whole life existence and your success in life, I guess especially of the Jewish people, is a miraculous experience from beginning to end. We're only alive because of the kindness of Hashem every single moment. If Hashem would let go for 1 second, we would be destroyed by the wolves. So God forbid when a Jew sins and they lose and Hashem's divine providence and presence moves away, automatically you're devoured by the wolves. You're not going to succeed. So the miracle that takes place in Jericho, that is because the Jews were connected to Hashem in a very strong way, so they lived a miraculous life. And Hashem had them enter Jericho with miracles. What happens when the Jews sin? Hashem removes his divine presence. They're over. It's instantly over for the Jewish people or anyone because they don't have Hashem's protection. They're back to the whims of nature and they're going to be destroyed. So let's see this part of the story, what happens next. I mentioned this in our class last night. Avraham Avinu, this is exactly yesterday's Chumash. Avraham Avinu stopped in exactly this area. I'm going to show you a map after. Exactly this area to pray for the Jewish people because this story was going to take place and he prayed to Hashem and only 36 people are going to die, which is a miracle, even though they lose the battle. And only takes 30 because of the prayers, the commentaries say that Avraham did at that area hundreds of years before. Let's see. Yamal b'nei Yisrael mal b'chayrim. And the children of Israel commit a trespass in the consecrated items. Remember, they said the war was on Shabbos. And it was a miracle. And Joshua said, we're donating everything to Hashem. We're giving a donation, everything to God. And there was a violation in their commitment, in their donation that they gave. There was a guy called Achon who was this guy Achon? He was the son of Carmi ben Zavdi, who was the son of Zavdi ben Zerach, the son of Zerach. Lamata Yehuda, to the tribe of Yehuda. Which tribe was he from? He was from the tribe of Yehuda. And he took min acherim from the consecrated items. Yeshua just said, nobody should touch anything. We're donating this whole city, this miraculous city that we conquered on Shabbos, we're donating it to Hashem. No one should touch it. And this guy went, and he took the consecrated items. Vayicharaf Hashem b'nei Yisrael, and Hashem got angry at the Jewish people. Hashem got angry at the Jewish people. Vayishlach Yeshua, and what happens? They're going on to the next war. So they sent spies. Now Hashem made a miracle with Jericho, that supernatural miracle that they conquered Jerusalem. But there's another city called Ai nearby, which they need to conquer right nearby Jericho. So Yeshua sends men like spies from Jericho, where they already conquered. Pa'ai, to the city of Ai. That was the name of the city. It was right nearby. Asher in Beis Oven, that was near another city called Beis Oven. Nikedon Leveisela was to the east of Bethel. That's exactly where Abraham was just. Remember, we just said Abraham was to the east of Bethel. Same exact city we're mentioning here too, to the east of Bethel. And he says to them, saying, Alu v'ragulu sa'aretz. Joshua tells these men, go and scout out the land, v'yalu anashim. And the men went up, v'yiragulu sa'ay, and they went to scout out the city of Ai. Come back to Joshua. Yeshua, they come back to Joshua. And they say to him, Al Yal Kolam, don't send the whole nation up to conquer this little city of Ai. You need maybe 2,000-3,000 people. Yalu will go up, and they'll capture, they'll destroy the city of Ai. Al Tigush, Al Tiaga Shamas Kolam, don't tire everybody out and schlepping the whole army up there. They're very small, it's a tiny group of people. Send maybe 2,000-3,000 people. Why are you going to make the whole army schlep to get and take care of the city of Ai? There's not much to do over there. So they went up, 3,000 people, and they ran away, they fled from the city of Ai. They end up losing the war. And the people of Ai smit them, they attacked them. They killed about 36 people. The commentaries say, the Gemara says, was it actually literally exactly the number 36? Or 36 is a little more than half of a Sanhedrin. Sanhedrin is the royal Supreme Court by Judaism. There's 70 people. So there was the 36 is half plus one. It's the majority. There was a great tzaddik. He says it was actually, could be, according to some of the commentaries, there was one such an unbelievable tzaddik, righteous man got killed. He was so holy, he was like majority of the Supreme Court. It's not actual 36 people. Some people say it was literally 36 people. Some people say that it was one man who was worthy of the 36 leaders of the Sanhedrin. Ish vayidafu, and the people of Ai chased the Jewish army of 3,000 people. They chase after them with Fnei Ashar, past the gate, out of the city. They start chasing them. Adi Shvarim, until they broke them, Rashi says. They broke the Jewish army people. Vayakum b'moirad, and they smit them at the descent. They're running down, and they're smiting them. They're hitting them. Yimas levava'am, and the hearts of the people melt and turns to water. All of a sudden, they were riding a high. Just before, when they conquered the city of Jericho, they were unstoppable. And all of a sudden, they fall from the highest high to the lowest low. A terrible story happens to the Jewish people. So Joshua says, aha. He's like, woe unto us. Oi. He says, alas. Hashem, God our God. Using the two terms of Hashem's name. Hashem is king in the judging the physical world and the merciful God together, God of mercy. Why Hashem? And remember, he's a leader of the people. They're losing this next war, the next battle. Why do you pass this people over to go over the Jordan River? To give us over to the hands of the Amorites, to destroy us. We should have been happy and content. To sit on the other side, on the eastern side of the Jordan River. As Rashi says, we already conquered, we were safe when Moses was here. He led us and we conquered Sichon and Og. Everything was dandy, everything was good, life was fine. And we already conquered the other side. Why are we being so smart now to keep on conquering land and it's not really working out? A major pitfall, a major downfall. Be Adoni, please, my master. Ma'oimar, what should I say? What should I say to the Jewish people? That the Jewish people turn their necks. We're not to their enemy. We're not chasing them. They're chasing us. We're running away. Our backs are turned to our enemies. What should I say now? What should I tell the people? What should we do? Ishmael, Kanani, and the Canaanites who live, right, the major nation in Israel with the Canaanites. Will hear, and all the people around will hear what happened. They're going to surround us. And destroy us, cut us off, as Shemenu, our name in Aretz. And God, what will happen to your great name? They're going to say Hashem was very powerful. Up till a point, all of a sudden they go to Ai, this little city of Ai, and they destroy them. Okay, maybe there were many miracles that happened with Hashem and tremendous amount of miracles, but guess what happened? The next thing that happens is that you get destroyed and they lose them. So God responds to Yeshua. And here's a very interesting Rashi. These two next verses are two very powerful, interesting Rashi, and then a very powerful meaning in the next verse. But first, this verse 10. So Hashem says to Joshua, Kum, get up. Yeshua is like depressed, like freaking out. They just lost the war. Hashem tells Yeshua, get up. Why are you falling on your face? Stand up, have courage, get up, don't give up. I want to share with you the three explanations that Rashi says. They're very interesting, the three different interpretations. What Hashem's message to Yeshua was, maybe why was Yeshua depressed, or why did they lose the war? First interpretation is not kum but come. not just, yes, I accept your prayer. Because of your prayer, interpretation 1, stand up, you're going to be good. You're going to win. Your prayer stood up. You sorted things out. You stood things up. Everything's beautiful and dandy now because of your davening work, basically. You prayed to me, Hashem. You said, Hashem, what's going to happen to your great and holy name? What is the world going to think? They're going to destroy us. Hashem says, interpretation 1, Rashi says, is get up. Yes, your words were worked and your great prayer, and it worked. Interpretation number 2, it's your fault, Joshua, that this happened. Why is it your fault? Go back to the Chumash, go back to the Torah. What did we learn when Hashem told Moshe, you're going to die, you're going to pass away, and someone else will take over the leadership? Remember what Moshe said over there? God, send in front of them a leader that will lead them in battle, that will go before them, that will take them out, that will bring them in. And I said, yes, Moshe Rabbeinu, we will get a leader that will lead them in war. And here, Yeshua, you sent 3,000 men and you didn't go with them. The deal was that you lead the way. And because of that, these 3,000 people passed away. You need to be the leader that will go in the front. You need to be the leader in the front. As long as you do that, as was originally planned, as was meant to be your leadership, the Jewish people would not have fallen. You need to stand in the front and you need to lead the way. You need to be a strong leader. You need to go along with them. And that's the second interpretation, is that almost saying, like Joshua, the reason they failed the war because you weren't there. You need to be in the front. You need to be the leader and stand in the front. And the third interpretation, also very interesting, Rashi says, is Yeshua, it's your fault. Why? For a different reason. Because you should never have consecrated the city of Jericho. I never told you to consecrate the city of Jericho. You decided on your own to give a gift to Hashem, that you're going to, because of the great miracle happens, and it's on Shabbos, and you're not even fighting the war. Hashem's doing it for you. And out of your, I guess, inspiration and excitement, you stand up and you say, we're donating this whole city to Hashem. And then somebody went and stole money from the consecration, and a major problem happens. Had you not said that, they would never have been consecrated. I never told you to do that. Why are you consecrating things that I didn't tell you to do? So again, Hashem is telling Yeshua, you should have never, you're the one who decided to consecrate it, and now somebody went and took money they weren't supposed to take, and now we have a major issue on our hands because someone's stealing from the donated items. So three very interesting Rashis, but the bottom line is Hashem is telling him, get up. There was a downfall, but that doesn't mean we give up in life. We move on. And I guess you can imagine for Yeshua, it's very painful because he's the leader, maybe even, especially if it's his fault. Kind of carries responsibility for what took place, and 36 people are dead. And Hashem says, but you have to move on. Life, you can't get depressed. You have to move on and continue with the mission and be strong. The person has to be a strong person and move on and not get depressed when they're falling. Here is a very interesting verse, which I'll share with you why in a minute. But let's first read this simple interpretation. There's no Rashi even here. Chata Yisrael, and Hashem says, Yeshua, you want to know that this is, by the way, all the reasons that Rashi gave us were hidden, were the oral interpretation, that it was because you didn't go before them, and it was also because you consecrated it. But what's the Torah? The reason in Tanakh? Listen to the reason now. Chata Yisrael, the Jewish people sinned. V'gam avru as bris, and they violated the covenant that I commanded them. V'gam lakchu min acherem, and they took from the cherem, from the donated, the consecrated items. V'gam ganvu, and they stole. V'gam kichashu, and they denied, they lied. V'gam samu b'chleim, and they put it in their vessels. That's why the war happened, in the clear out reason in the Tanakh, in the book of Yeshua. That's why it happened. Verse 12, we'll come back to verse 11 in a second. And the Jewish people couldn't stand up in front of their enemies. They will turn their backs to the enemies. They'll run away from them before their enemies. Because they were being they're being like chastised, chased away. I'm not going to be more with them, with you. If you don't destroy the person, the guy who stole, and the consecrated items that was stolen, until you get rid of it from your midst, I'm not going to be with you. You're not going to have Hashem's presence with you. Now I want to go back to verse 11. And there's a Gemara in Sanhedrin in page 44 that shares something very interesting in verse 11. It describes there that Achan, who stole, did much more sins, many more sins, when it's than just steal. And one of the things is, it says the word gam, also, he also did this, he also did this. Gam avru was bris Hashem, gam lakchu men acherim, and he also, the word gam is also, gam ganvu, and he also stole, gam kichashu, and he also lied, gam samu b'chleim, and he also 5 times. And the Gemara there says this guy didn't just steal the money, he violated all the 5 books of Moshe. He was a terrible person. He he violated all the 5 books of Moshe Rabbeinu. He violated. And the Gemara learns out there that not just did he do that, he was Moishech Bar Laste. That means that a guy had a bris, a circumcision. I guess maybe not long ago, right? Because they just did a circumcision before. He did whatever he can to take whatever skin he had to I don't know exactly how it works, but to cover over the bris, that you shouldn't see the bris, that it should look like he didn't have a bris. He didn't want to be identified with the bris. He was trying to cover it over. More than that, the Gemara says there, he had relations with a woman that was betrothed. And in those days, the engagement wasn't engagement; it was like a full-on partial marriage. He went and he violated. He was with a girl who was like he did adultery. He did all these averos are included, and the Gemara there learns out from this verse all the sins that this guy Achan did. I mean, maybe the biggest problem was that he stole now, and the Jewish people all held liable for that. But he did all these averos. But what do I want to tell you from? There's a very famous word. Is the first 2 words of this verse. Chata Yisrael means that the Jewish people sinned. Here's the key. Chata Yisrael, the Jewish people sinned. Listen to what the Gemara inside the Talmud says in Sanhedrin. I don't care how many sins he did. It calls him Yisrael. It calls him a Jew. The Jew transgressed. The Gemara, the Talmud says there, even though he sinned, and I explained to you how many sins the Talmud says he did. Yisrael, he's a Jew. He's a Yid. The Gemara learns there, no matter how many sins, from this guy Achan, from today's story, from this pasuk, that the Gemara says he did all these sins, and he caused all the Jewish people to suffer, and many 36 people died, and Hashem's presence left them. A Jew is a Jew is a Jew is a Jew. We learn out of this verse. It's a very powerful verse here. No matter how many sins he did, he's a Yid, and that will never go away. And that's learned out from this verse. Chata Yisrael. It doesn't say he sinned, the Jew sinned. Right? I guess I'm thinking now you could point it out. You know, you could change your last name, you could cut off your nose. You know, Jackie Mason says you could cut down your nose. You could do whatever you want. It's not going to help. A Jew will stay a Jew forever and ever. And that's a beautiful lesson to learn from this verse. All right, let's go on. Verse 13. Kum kadesh ha'am. So he says, get up, sanctify the nation, v'amarta, and say to them, hiskachu l'machar. They should sanctify themselves tomorrow. Hiskachu l'machar. It's the last verse we're going to do today. Ki amar Hashem kasosos Hashem l'kei Yisrael, the God of the Jews. Chayim b'kirbecha, you have a Chayrim, you have a consecrated item, a prohibited, a cursed item in your midst. You're not going to be able to win any more wars until you remove it from your midst. And tomorrow, join the next class to find out what happens tomorrow. What happens tomorrow? Any questions or comments on today's beautiful study of Tanakh?